Hello, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever time is you are watching this video. Here I am, Reza Rad, with another video interviews with Microsoft Fabric product team. And this time we have the pleasure to be with Rick. Hey, Rick, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you, Reza?
Good, good. Thank you. It was a great time last time we had in the campus in person. We had that
Mhm.
chat and interview last year, and a lot of people were happy about that. So wanting to do a similar chat again, and thank you for your time in advance. Now, before we start talking about it, would you please explain, introduce yourself, explain who you are, what part of the product you are working with, so that people get to know you better?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Reza. So my name
Welcome.
is Rick. I am a product manager working on Fabric platform. Specifically, I focus on a lot of security features, security and compliance. Yeah, these are the challenge, right? Is to make Fabric as secure as possible while being on a SaaS platform, right? And some of the features I work on are network security, also encryption related, also some of the compliance aspect of it to make sure Fabric is compliant with a lot of like certifications. So those are the main areas of my focus.
Right, correct. Now, just to clarify our audience, when Rick talks about security, we are not talking about, let's say, the areas of Fabric security, such as row level security or Power BI, like column level security, object level security. That is also a security. But
Yep.
what Rick and his team is focusing on, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that they are focusing on the down lower network layer of the security, how the connection to this cloud service is and how that can be protected in terms of encryption and all of that. Am I right, Rick?
Yes, yes, you're absolutely right. It's that outer layer, outmost layer, right? We want to make sure that user can securely connect into Fabric, and also Fabric can securely connect to external locations and bring in data security, right? And of course, within when you beyond this outmost layer, within the next layer, you get to there are like data security, right? One leg security. There's also things related to permissions or roles that you can define on the workspace. Yeah. So yeah, security is a huge topic. It's the most important
Correct.
thing, right? So a lot of teams are
Yes.
working on it. Yeah.
Yeah, it is correct. It is a big topic, and it is quite important when we work with security in a cloud-based service, because when it is on premises, the security is different. We'll define security on premises situation, and then we'll use like VPN connection, things like that. But whereas if when it is in cloud, there are other things to consider, like certificates first to like make sure that you comply with things, and things such as private endpoint and all of those security configuration that helps a lot of customers, especially those who are concerned with their data being to cloud, that movement of data from on-prem to cloud or from another cloud environment to this cloud to Microsoft Fabric Cloud. So tell us what are the most exciting updates and announcement in Fabric, in FabCon, and also in the Microsoft Build.
Yes, yes. Very excited to talk about those. So since last time we talked, Reza, so we have been working on a lot of new network security features.
Yeah.
What we announced during FabCon and also a little bit more concretely last week at Build was that the features what we're calling workspace level private link, right? And that's what we consider as an inbound security features. It's mainly giving you the most secure way of connecting to Fabric, right? You can only connect to Fabric, right? Only when you are on a the VNet and connecting into Fabric on your VM, so that the connectivity can only be on a private network, right? So that's one feature, and another one is the opposite of inbound, right? So what we're thinking in terms of outbound connection, right? Once you get into Fabric, right, you want to be able to connect to the first thing you want to do is to bring in data, right? So to bring in data, have to
Mhm.
connect securely to those locations. So how do you securely bring in data, right? So that's and also once you get the data, once those data are brought in into Fabric, you want to make sure that the data, the cannot be exfiltrated, right? Sensitive information in Fabric cannot be exfiltrated. So that a feature that we're announcing is called outbound access protection, right? Which is when you can configure it, it locks down all of the outbound connections and only allow you to connect to specific locations if they're on an allow list, right? So that's the second feature we're calling OAP, and that's also on the workspace. And the third one, it's slightly different than network security. It's related to encryption. It's what we're calling is CMK, right? So it's customer managed key, right? And so some of the customers, they because of compliance reasons, they want to have total control of their data, right, in Fabric. And so they're not satisfied with all of the data that just being encrypted by a key that Microsoft owns, right? They want to use their own encryption key to encrypt the data in one link, right? So that when something were to happen, they say somehow they can revoke their key, right? And then nobody would have access to data in one link. So that's the feature we're going to roll out for calling CMK. So those are the three features that are hitting public preview next month.
Right. Okay. That's great. So talking about that very first one, the private endpoint, which is like more kind of like inbound security. In simple word, am I right to say it this way, that if a customer wants to have a private connection without any, let's say, concern about leaking data anywhere, or any concern about like their data to be exposed anywhere, they can use that private endpoint connection to a workspace and let's say they bring their data in, something like that. Am I right?
Yes, you're right. Yeah. So
and what kind? Go on, please.
So remember what we're talking about here is the customers who are the most that has the most stringent security requirements, right? So they're
Such
even
as
though
banks,
banks and financial institutions or even healthcare, right? Some of them
hospitals,
they don't, even though all of the traffic, right, is encrypted at transit and at rest, and also there's like other security features like we talk about, right? You have permissions, you have other data security, all of that. But then the fact that those data still travel on a public internet, right? Even though they're encrypted,
yes,
it's still not compliant with their regulations. And so the most stringent customer, they want us to give them the guarantee, right, that the network the traffic can only happen on private connectivity. If the traffic is coming in from a public endpoint, then Fabric, we should be able to block that, right? So this is for this set of customers that we come up with this feature, private link.
Yes, correct. So based on what you are saying, these are the customers who have really tight security, let's say, requirement that want to follow that, which makes sense also for the other features that you are working on, such as those encryption, CMK, and like bringing their own encryption key and all of that. These features they are of course available in all the Fabric capacities, regardless of F2 or F64 or whatever, right? Am I right?
Correct. Yeah. So
And how about Power BI users? If we have someone with like just Power BI Pro account, something like that, would they still be able to use something like that private endpoint, or that is a premium function?
No, we do require you to have a Fabric capacity, right, in order to
Yes.
use these advanced security features.
Correct, right. And in terms of the CMK itself, like how, let's say, how big size of the customers we are talking about when we are talking about customers who are going to use this functionality? You probably have already some customers in private preview, I imagine, using this, right?
Yes.
So are we talking normally with like about large enterprise customers, again, in those industries such as healthcare, financial, things like that?
Exactly. Yes, there are private preview customers right now. We have they're all like banks, right? They're all like financial institutions. Yes. So we're not talking about this is not a mass adoption feature that everybody will use, right? This has the high barrier of entry. You do have to have somebody who maintains those keys in your own Azure Key Vault, for example, right? But it's something that's must have for these large customers in order for them to use Fabric.
Correct. One other question that I get a lot when I'm presenting something about Fabric or Power BI is that, like, all of these security additions, such as private endpoint, things like that, is that going to impact the performance? Like when someone is loading data into Power BI, into data flow, into data factory, into Fabric. Let's consider like doing any processing. Would having such a like private endpoint connection make it slower than normal connection, or no, it's just like a bound for the connection?
Right, that's a great question. It will have some impact, right, but it's not significant.
Mhm.
And that's mainly due to that the traffic would have to be routed through certain gateways in terms of the network
Correct.
setup. Right, private connectivity is different than public, right, and also the fact that it has to go through a private endpoint. And so if on your end, on the customer end, you only have one private endpoint that all of the traffic goes through, right? So there might be some impact in terms of like bandwidth, right? So it's from that perspective, there may be some impact in terms of performance, but otherwise, yeah, it shouldn't be it's not a big deal for most scenarios.
Correct.
Mhm.
Correct. Awesome. One. So these are great, and you mentioned these would be available hopefully next month or so. What is the roadmap in the security side of things? What are the things we should be watching for like coming in the next year or whatever, like 6 months, things like that? If you have anything.
Yes. So these features being in public preview, right? So they
Mhm.
have
Yeah.
like a bunch of limitations, right? They don't
Correct.
support the full spectrum of Fabric experiences yet, right? Fabric, as you know,
Correct.
like we
Right.
roll out a new workload like almost like every day, right? And
Yes.
and so it's we will expand support into all of the ideal right scenarios to when you enable these features, all of the Fabric experience should still continue to work, right? And so that's our goal is to between when we get to GA, when we make these features generally available, we want to expand support to as many experiences, major experiences as possible, right?
Yeah.
So all of these features, the period we're targeting is the GA of all of these features,
Mm.
right?
Right. Okay. That makes
Yep,
sense.
that's the main
Yep.
goal. Mm.
Right. Okay. That's good. So I want to also bring the discussion of like where you guys get the most feedback and things like that. So of course you have a, I think,
Mhm.
customer base channel, a voice channel that you would hear from your like bigger customer, enterprise customer about what features they are looking for, and there's ideas for them. But what is the most what is the places that you guys get the most ideas from, and how people can get in touch with you or your team and let you know that like these are the features they are looking for?
Yes, yes. So like you mentioned, Fabric has an ideas forum, right? So that's the place that people know and love to submit feedback and ideas, suggestion. We always make it a point every PM on the team will review them periodically and make sure that we can respond to that and build them into our plan, right? Another
Correct. Yes.
way, we also, when it comes to specifically network security related features, we
Mhm.
do have an alias which I will send to you. Maybe we can share them
Oh
with your
yes,
audience. They can just send directly an email right to the alias, and we'll monitor that
that
email
is
as
great.
well. Yeah, to learn of any direct feedback, right? And you ask about what's the most common feedback that we hear, um, or the challenge right now, right? Is that yeah,
Mm.
as you can imagine, we are rolling out these features, and there are more and more of them makes them a little bit harder, right, to configure,
Mm.
and that user experience uh, needs to be more like sassified, and
Mhm.
so a lot of these network security features are a little bit harder to understand and configure, right? And so we want to
Yes.
our goal is to make them less so, right? We want to sassify these network security features without compromising the security aspect of it, right?
Mm.
And so that's the most, I guess, the feedback that we get is that it's just a lot of different kinds of features seemingly sounding the same. Like they sound like the same, but then
Mm.
which features is used for what scenarios, That's not clear for a lot of customers. So we strive to improve on that front.
That is great, and that's great to see that you and the team are working on all of these, because like there are some features that people can see it quite easily, like anything on the visualization or on the Power BI, but things that are behind the scene is not normally seen as the updates, whereas these are some of the most important updates, especially on the security side of things. Awesome. Any last thing you want to mention to our audience?
Yes, one more thing that we are going to
Yes.
work on, is beyond these individual features. As we discussed, they are mostly at the workspace level, and we want to be able to work on the governance aspect of it, right? So the workspace admins right now are the ones who are configuring these features. So that naturally leads to the question of what about governance? What about as the admin of Fabric, right? How do I make sure that these features, being security features, right, that they are governed? So we want to work on the governance aspect of it so that you can maybe create policies to institute or enforce some of these controls to be available on some specific workspaces, right? And so that's the other direction that we're going. Well, I hope to be able to announce some of the features next time we talk.
That is good. And this would be the governance features inside Fabric, or it would be like the way that we combine it with Purview?
We could do, yes, those both are being explored, right? We certainly want to have a way of without having to get out of Fabric, right? You can just do everything in there, right? So you have
From
a
this
governance, right?
environment.
Yeah, but some customers, certainly Purview is great, right? Purview, currently we already have integration with Purview, right? So if you already have that set up, right, you could also do similar stuff in Purview. And so it should be seamless, right? The same thing you should be able to accomplish both within Fabric and also through Purview.
Right. Okay. Now that makes sense, absolutely, and really looking forward to see when that features are coming up, and we probably have another video call after that.
Looking forward.
Awesome. Thank you for your time. It was really good to talk with you, and thank you everyone also for watching us. It was really good to have you again here, and until the next video, bye.
Thank you.